Hey there, trail trekkers and tall tale seekers. You're tuned in to the 406 Life, the podcast where Montana Max, your Bigfoot buddy and outlaw gear mascot, yeah, that's me, leads you through the wild, weird, and wonderful corners of Montana. Each week we share stories, legends, and laughs from the last best place. So grab your boots and sense of adventure, because we're about to make some Montana-sized memories. This episode's powered by Outlaw Gear, where rebels get their style. Want to look legendary? Mosey over to I'mAnOutlaw.com and claim your outlaw status. Well, all right. Pull up a log and get comfortable. This one's going to take a minute. My name's Montana Max. And before you ask, yes, I'm real. No, I don't want to be photographed. And yes, I do have opinions about things. Strong ones. Today's one of them. I want to talk to you about two women who came out of this state and did something that most people, men included, didn't have the guts to try. We're talking about Fanny Sperry Steele and Greenough Orr. Two Montana girls who climbed on the backs of horses that nobody in their right mind should have climbed on, and they did it better than just about anyone who ever lived. Now, I've been roaming this state for a long time, longer than I'm going to admit to. And in all that time, I've watched a lot of people come through here thinking they were tough. Some of them were, most of them weren't. But these two were the real thing. And if you don't know their names yet, well, that's exactly why we're here today. So settle in, Montana Max is talking. Try to keep up. Let's start with Fanny. Fanny Sperry Steele. Born in 1887 out in the Prickly Pear Valley, not far from Helena. Now, if you've never been out that way, picture open land, big sky, and the kind of quiet that gets into your bones if you let it. That's where Fanny came from. And she came up on horses the way most kids come up on whatever's around, early, natural, and without a whole lot of hand-holding about it. By the time she was 17 years old, she was already competing professionally. Relay racing at the Montana State Fair in 1904. That's not a kid messing around at a county fair. That's a young woman who already knew what she was. 3 years later, she moved into bucking horse events. And that's where the story really starts. Now, here's something you gotta understand about bronc riding back in that era. Most women who competed used what they called hobbled stirrups. That's when the stirrups get tied together underneath the horse's belly. Gives the rider more stability, helps him stay on. Wasn't cheating exactly. It was just the way it was done. Fanny didn't do it that way. She refused the hobbles entirely. Rode what they called slick. Just her, the horse, and whatever she could hold on to with pure balance and grit. No extra help, no shortcuts. And she did it against horses that were bred and trained specifically to throw people off. I've spent a considerable amount of time in trees, watching folks take the easy path when a harder one was available. It's more common than you'd think. Fanny Sperry Steele was not that kind of person. In 1912, she went up to Calgary for the very first Calgary Stampede. Now that was a big deal. That was a moment. The whole rodeo world was paying attention, and Fanny got on a horse named Red Wing and rode that animal slick, no hobbles, in front of everybody who mattered. And she won. Lady Bucking Horse Champion of the World. Right there. First Calgary Stampede. First time out. The following year, 1913, she went to Winnipeg and won the world title again. Then she married Bill Steele, a bronc rider and rodeo clown himself, which honestly sounds like either the best or worst idea depending on the day, but by all accounts it worked out fine. She competed in her last rodeo event in Bozeman in 1925. After that, she and Bill started supplying bucking stock to rodeos across the West, and eventually they opened a dude ranch out at Arastra Creek. And Fanny, because apparently she hadn't already done enough, became the first woman in Montana to earn a packer's license. Guiding hunters. running outfitting trips into the backcountry. Now I know that backcountry pretty well. I live in it, and I will tell you, it is not a casual undertaking. The fact that she was out there doing that work, officially licensed, at a time when women weren't exactly expected to be doing that work, that tells you everything about who she was. Fanny Sperry Steele lived to be 95 years old. 95. She passed away in 1983, and in 1975 she was inducted into the National Rodeo Hall of Fame at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum. She deserved every bit of it, and then some. Need shipping, shredding, prints, or a real street address? Helena's locally owned and operated the UPS store has you covered, located at 2047 North Last Chance Gulch. Stop by and get it done right. Now let's talk about Alice. Alice Greenough was born in 1902 on a ranch near Red Lodge, Montana. If you know Red Lodge, you already know it's the kind of place that produces a certain type of person. Stubborn, capable, not particularly interested in being told what they can't do. Alice came from a family already well known in that part of the state. They were called the Riding Greenoughs. Alice and her siblings Turk, Marge, Bill, and Frank. And between the lot of them, they built careers out of horsemanship and exhibition riding that took them across the country and eventually over to Europe. Now Alice didn't exactly plan her rodeo career. From what's been said about it, she entered the arena in the late 1920s on a dare. A dare. I want you to sit with that for a second. Because the woman who would go on to win 4 world titles, help found a major professional organization, and invent a rodeo discipline that still exists today. Got started because somebody dared her. That's a Montana story right there. In 1929, she answered an advertisement from Jack King's Wild West show and launched her professional career. And once she got going, she did not slow down. 1933, Women's World Saddle Bronc Riding Championship, Boston Garden. Alice Greenough. 1935, Boston Garden again, same result. 1936, Boston Garden, 3rd time. And that same year, she became a founding member of the group that would become the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, the PRCA, one of the most important organizations in the history of the sport. She was in the room when that got built, pushing for better treatment and fair pay for the people making the rodeo circuit work. Then 1940, Madison Square Garden, Women's Saddle Bronc Crown, 4th world title. She was 38 years old, and she kept competing until she was 52. Now I don't want to make too big a deal of the age thing because Fanny rode exhibition broncs until she was 50, so clearly Montana women just operate on a different timeline than the rest of us. But still, 52 years old, still getting on bucking horses competitively. I've got a pulled something or other from a stumble I took in 1987, and I still think about it. These women were built different. In 1942, Alice stepped back from arena competition and teamed up with her husband Joe Orr to produce the Greenough Orr Rodeo, a traveling show that went all across the United States and Canada. And here's where it gets really important. Around that time, major venues, places like Madison Square Garden, started dropping women's rough stock events, decided they were too dangerous, or too unconventional, or just generally not worth the trouble. Which is a real generous way of saying they were pushing women out. Alice didn't accept that, she adapted. She and Joe created the first women's barrel racing event to keep women competing and keep women visible in the sport. That discipline didn't fade away. It grew. It became one of the most recognized events in all of professional rodeo, and it's still going strong today. Think about that. When they took something away, she built something new. And what she built outlasted everything they tried to close the door on. She also helped establish the Carbon County Museum in Red Lodge in 1959, which preserves local history and rodeo heritage, including the Greenough family's story, to this day. Alice Greenough Orr was inducted into the National Cowgirl Hall of Fame in 1975, the Rodeo Hall of Fame in Oklahoma City in 1983. She passed away in 1995 at 93 years old. Ready for your next Montana home? Visit mostwantedrealestate.net, because that's how the West is sold. Now I want to take a minute and just talk about what these two women actually did together. Because individually they're impressive enough, but when you step back and look at the full picture, it's something else. They came out of Montana, a state that was, and honestly still is, a long way from the center of anything, and they competed on the biggest stages in American rodeo. Boston Garden, Madison Square Garden, the Calgary Stampede. They didn't do it from a big city with a lot of resources behind them. They did it from the Prickly Pear Valley and a ranch outside Red Lodge, because that's where they were from and that's what they had. They competed in an era when the sport itself wasn't always sure it wanted them, when venues dropped their events, when the culture told them in ways both loud and quiet that maybe this wasn't the right place for them, and they kept going anyway. They won titles anyway. They built things anyway. Fanny proved that you could do it the hard way, slick, no help, just pure ability, and be the best in the world at it. Alice proved that when they close a door, you build a new one, and sometimes what you build is better than what they took away. Out of 260-plus members of the Rodeo Hall of Fame, only 33 are women. Both of these Montana women are among them, along with only 12 women who were bronc riders. That's who we're talking about today. That's who came from this state. I've spent a long time in these hills, watched a lot of things from the timber, and I'll tell you honestly, there aren't many stories I've come across that sit with me the way these two do, because they weren't just good at what they did. They changed what was possible, for the sport and for everyone who came after them. Montana does that sometimes. Takes somebody quiet and capable and a little bit stubborn, and it points them at something hard, and they go. Fanny and Alice went. Now, before I disappear back into the trees, which, by the way, is where I spend the majority of my time because nobody's out here offering me a podcast studio with decent lighting and a comfortable chair, I do want to ask you something. If you got something out of this episode, if Fanny and Alice's story hit you the way it hit me when I first dug into it, share it. Send it to somebody. Put it in a group chat. Tell a friend who loves Montana or loves rodeo or just loves a good story about people who refuse to quit. And if you'd be willing to leave a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening on right now, I would genuinely appreciate it. Not for me, mind you. I don't need the validation. I'm a large, undiscovered creature living off the grid in one of the most remote states in the country. My self-esteem is fine, but ratings are how other people find this show. And stories like Fanny's and Alice's deserve to be found. So do it for them. You can find more Montana stories, history, outdoor guides, and whatever else Max has been watching from the Ridgeline over at the406life.com. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio, so subscribe wherever you do your listening. This has been the 406 Life Podcast. I'm Montana Max, and I was here long before any of this, and I'll be here long after. Stay sharp out there. Got a Montana story, business, or unsolved mystery you want on the show? Head to the406life.com and drop me a line. No smoke signals required. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss a stomp, stumble, or tall tale. Tell your friends, tell your grandma, heck, tell that guy who swears he saw me near Whitefish. I was just buying donuts, all right? Until next time, keep it outrageous, keep it kind, and keep living the 406 life. Montana Max, over and out.
That's the 406.